Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Chris Weidenbar, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is leading aircraftsman Rhys Tonkin. We're honoured to acknowledge Vice Admiral Shrikant, Commandant, National Defence College, India, and the delegation from the National Defence College accompanying him. We also warmly welcome Colonel Stefan Salov, Commander, German Army, and the accompanying regiment. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, reeds will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors and by students on behalf of the following schools: from New South Wales, Inner Sydney Montessori, Balmain, St Columba Anglican School, Port Macquarie, and St Cecilia's Primary School, Wyong. And from South Australia, the Hills Christian School, Verdun. I now ask all who are able to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Thank you. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway lands. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Reeds or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Percy Wade. Percy Wade, known to friends and family as Perce, was born on the 11th of December 1887 in Blackwood, now a suburb of Adelaide. He was the second son of Robert Wade and his second wife Mary. Percy was educated locally and went on to work as a brickmaker. He was deeply involved in the Blackwood Methodist Church, serving as secretary to the Sunday school and as a church officer. He was described as a man who could always be relied upon. His quiet disposition, his thoroughness and cheerfulness and Christian character made him greatly beloved in the district. Wade tried to enlist in the Australian Imperial Force early in the war, but was turned down because of varicose veins. As increasing numbers of men were needed for the war effort, enlistment standards declined, and by October 1916, he was to enlist. He underwent a period of training in Australia before leaving for active service overseas in December with reinforcements to the 43rd Battalion. Private Wade continued training in England. In April 1917, he was on guard duty at Durrington Camp on the Salisbury Plain when the man he was watching, deserter Harry Miller, escaped. Miller apparently climbed a wall instead of going to the latrine, and Wade later gave evidence at his own court-martial, saying, "It was my first time on guard and I had no idea it was possible to escape the way he did." Wade was found not guilty of any misdemeanour and continued training. Wade remained on the Salisbury Plain for some months, joining his battalion on the battlefields of the Western Front in late 1917. He spent that winter rotating in and out of the front line in harsh conditions and fell sick with flu in May 1918. A month after he rejoined the battalion, he took part in the Battle of Hamel, a startlingly successful small-scale operation that remains famous to this day. In the following weeks, the 43rd Battalion participated in small operations to continue to push the German line back. On the 30th of August, the 2nd Australian Division scored another stunning success in the capture of Mont St. Quentin, and the 43rd entered the front line that evening to follow up on the success. At 5 a.m. on the 1st of September, the battalion attacked a German trench known as Kastari Trench, advancing under heavy German machine gun fire. Wade went over the top as the attack began and had made it to a small shell hole in no man's land when he was hit by a machine gun bullet. He called out to a Private Hallam who was nearby to come and dress his wounds. As Hallam finished getting the wound bandaged, he noticed that Private Wade had died. Wade's body remained in the isolated shell hole for at least another 2 days. Despite some sketchy reports of a battlefield grave, Percy Wade's last resting place was never found, and today he is commemorated on the Australian National Memorial of Villiers-Brontenau. He was 30 years old. In September 1918, at a service in the Methodist Church in Blackwood, the minister said, "I am grateful to have the opportunity to bear my testimony to the sterling character of Percy Wade. There was in him a happy blending of modesty and manliness, of quietness and courage, and of gentleness and strength. He was not a great talker, but he was a steady, faithful doer. Those who worked with him were impressed with his punctuality, plodding energy, and cheerful fidelity. Percy Wade's memory will be long enshrined in the sacred depths of many hearts. We who remain thank God for the memory of and inspiration received from the life of Percy Wade, and know that his sacrifice has not been in vain." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Percy Wade, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.